May 15, 1942. In a quiet forest clearing in North Africa, the sun flickers through olive branches, casting dappled shadows across the dust and rocks. Then it begins, a sound so metallic, so impossibly fast, that it feels as though the forest itself is screaming. Soldiers drop instinctively, some frozen in place, others screaming, hearts hammering against rib cages, as the air seems to vibrate with the rhythm of an unstoppable machine. It's the MG42, quickly earning the grim nickname Hitler's buzzsaw among Allied troops, a weapon designed not merely to kill, but to terrify. Germany had engineered this beast in response to the shortcomings of the earlier MG34. Faster, cheaper, easier to produce. The MG42 was a solution to the practical demands of modern warfare. But for the soldiers encountering it, the machine's design spoke a different language entirely. They had trained for rifles and single shotguns, for artillery barrages and hand grenades. Nothing prepared them for 1,200 rounds per minute of pure mechanical fury, bullets slicing through the air with a sound that seemed to erase everything else. The first encounters in Tunisia and Italy were chaos in microcosm. Small squads were ambushed before they even realized they were in danger. Leaders shouted orders, but their voices were swallowed by the thunderous roar. Private James Connors of the U.S. Army recalled in 1943, it was like the trees themselves were spitting bullets. Men were immobilized not just by fear, but by the sheer impossibility of responding to the storm of metal raining down. The numbers are almost as shocking as the sound. The MG42 fired 7.92 millimeters rounds at a staggering rate of 1,200 per minute, belt-fed, reliably precise. Spent casings clattered across rocky ground. Earth erupted under impact. Battalions sometimes lost up to 40% of their men in mere minutes, according to U.S. Army after-action reports from that year. Behind this engineering feat were German designers at Waffenfabrik Mauser, whose meticulous planning ensured that every barrel, every gear, every belt-fed mechanism functioned with terrifying consistency. Even General Patton, rarely at a loss for words, admitted, if it weren't for the MG42, we might have lost more than men. We might have lost our nerve entirely. Letters home from soldiers described the fear in intimate, almost surreal detail. Feet frozen to the ground, ears ringing from the relentless percussion, a panic that clawed at your chest in ways words struggled to capture. Some anecdotes verge on the absurd. One Italian soldier dropped his rifle mid-firefight and ran laughing, a manic, terrified expression on his face, because the mechanical scream made everything else irrelevant. There was humor, even in terror. Some soldiers later insisted the MG42 had a personality, like a hyperactive dog that only bites, a lot. But beneath the joke lay a shift in understanding. Heroism, once romanticized, now felt fragile and ephemeral in the face of such mechanical certainty. By the end of those first encounters, soldiers realized that the MG42 did more than intimidate. It altered the very rules of engagement, rendering tactics and courage almost irrelevant against its precision. And yet, for all that horror, the worst was still to come. What followed would not just challenge soldiers' nerves, it would shatter entire formations, forcing commanders and men alike to reconsider what battle truly meant. June 22, 1943. On the hills of Italy, what had once been an orderly Allied advance collapsed into chaos. Dust curled in clouds from the hillsides, smoke snaked upward from shattered bunkers, and somewhere on a camouflaged ridge, the MG42 spat fire with relentless precision. Soldiers huddled where they could, some praying, some staring, paralyzed by the mechanical roar. For those in the line of fire, it was as if the earth itself had turned against them. The psychological impact of the MG42 rivaled its physical devastation. Troop manuals soon warned commanders of MG42-induced paralysis, a phenomenon where well-trained units, veterans of countless drills, found themselves frozen under its barrage. What should have been disciplined maneuvers devolved into chaos, a stark contrast between human courage and the cold certainty of machine-driven death from a few hundred meters away. In key battles such as Monte Cassino and along the Gustav Line, the MG42 reshaped entire offensives. Flanking attempts often failed. Soldiers tried to suppress the gun with mortar fire, smoke, even daring charges, only to find that the weapon's quick-change barrel system allowed it to fire for 10 or more minutes without overheating. Brass casings bounced along cobblestones, bullets tore through helmets, clouds of smoke hung over terrified villages, and even horses bolted in panic as the gun chewed through the advancing ranks. Allied field reports noted casualty rates spiking by 50% in sectors covered by MG42s. German wartime propaganda praised the MG42 as a marvel of engineering. Allied reports called it the most feared gun on Earth. Modern historians agree that the weapon did more than kill. It forced a re-evaluation of tactics, shaping the way armies would engage for decades. Personal testimonies captured the surreal human response. Corporal Henry Wallace, in 1943, wrote, "I couldn't run, I couldn't duck, I just stared. I thought my heart had stopped. The world had gone metallic. Even in terror, soldiers found ways to cope. Some whispered to one another, 'Better to be hit by a bullet than the noise.' A grim joke, but one that underscored the MG42's psychological grip. There was room for dark humor. The gun was so efficient that one German manual half-joked it could replace entire squads. Fortunately, no military leader took that suggestion literally. By the end of the Italian campaign, soldiers had learned hard lessons. The MG42 forced the evolution of tactics. Suppression fire, coordinated smoke screens, and precise artillery support became necessities. And in the hearts of men who faced it, a blend of fear, respect, and grudging admiration remained. They didn't just remember the MG42. They remembered how fragile courage could feel when confronted with relentless engineering, a machine that didn't just kill, but reshaped the very nature of battle.